First and foremost, I think we're all super grateful and appreciative of what Coach Saban and his staff and the players that were here during that time have done, you know, and the foundation that's been built. And I know that those players and those coaches would say the same thing about the history and tradition prior to them being here. You know, this is a special place that way. And I know we all feel a responsibility to, you know, keep the standard what it's been.
We just talked to Jalen Milroe, your quarterback. What's it been like just getting to know him and coaching him now for a few months?
I hope he feels how much we appreciate him in college athletics, just when there's transition, you know, of the things that the players go through. He's been rock solid since the very beginning. He's let us coach him. I think the communication and the trust that's been built, you know, not just with myself, but other members of the staff, Coach DeBoer certainly, has been strong. You know, and I think the conversations, the honesty, the transparency, you know, has been, you know, really in a short amount of time, pretty remarkable. And I give him the most credit.
Before we get to the pod, I want to tell you guys about my favorite way to fire on sports, Prize Picks. Guys, I've tried all the different apps, sports betting, daily fantasy, fantasy sports. Prize Picks is by far the best way to get action on sports. On Prize Picks, you pick players instead of teams, so it's tons of fun, and if you know how players are going to perform, you can make tons of money. Each player has a set stat projection, and you pick more or less based on how you think they're going to perform. For example, Steph Curry, 20 points more or less. If you think he's going to have more, you pick more. If he has less, you pick less. You pair it with some other players, and you can win up to 100x your money. It's fun, it's easy, and you can have massive paydays. Get a free $50 from Prize Picks when you place just a $5 entry by using my code Adam B, the link in my bio. $5 play, $50 guaranteed, win or lose. I'm telling you guys, I've tried it all. Prize Picks is by far the best. And of course, guys, supporting my sponsors helps me a ton, allows me to travel around the country. So it would mean a lot to me if you'd support Prize Picks using code Adam B or the link in the description down to the app. Let's get to the pod.
How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Congrats on everything.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, we've been on a bender right now.
When did you start doing this?
2 years ago, probably? About?
Yeah.
Well, I was at ASU for 2 years. Shit hit the fan.
No, I know.
And then we...
this is taking off, though.
Yeah, it's been good.
Must be fun.
It's been awesome. Yeah, it's been great. It's taken off. Like it's everyone's like, you can get back into coaching. I'm like, I don't know.
Hell of a gig. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
I'm not sure. It'd have to be a great opportunity to get back into coaching.
I mean, you get to stay close to the game. You meet some
that's the
cool
fun
people.
part. I mean, dude, we're like doing this all summer. Quick trips. Like we were just at USC.
Yeah.
Was it yesterday? Awesome. Here, I mean, Coach has been awesome. Like he's like, honestly, was one of the first ones that like.
Yeah, I remember you coming out to Washington last year.
I remember you out there coaching tight ends.
Yeah, I told them they didn't. You know, these are guys. They don't know who anybody is. So it's, like, it's a tight end right here. So I sent them to dap them up.
That's right.
Tight end fraternity is strong.
Yeah.
But,
I love it.
Yeah. Congrats. Yeah, it's cool.
Appreciate it, man. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, same deal. I'm excited.
Thank you.
Excited you're here. And
appreciate it.
The opportunity. Yeah. We good? We roll? Cool. All right, Coach, I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me.
Excited to talk to you. How's the transition been for you from Washington to here?
It's been great. You know, obviously there's familiar faces for myself, Coach Shep, other members of the staff that were with Coach at Washington. But the people here in Tuscaloosa are unbelievable. My family has transitioned great. You know, I have 3 little kids, and my wife's a saint, and they love it here. And so it's been great. The players have been unbelievable. You know, it's just been great. Yeah, it's been as smooth of a transition as you could have. And, you know, we're lucky enough to be around great people each and every day. And then, you know, Alabama's one of one. You know, so to be here, truly a blessing. You know, humbled to be here, and it's been great so far. Yeah,
I think an interesting thing for fans to hear about is how the process actually goes down, where like Coach DeBoer takes the job to like how fast then you're in Tuscaloosa. Like how'd that go down when you ended up, you know, how'd you end up the process of that happening?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly was quick. You know, we played, you know, in the national championship game on Monday night, and then, you know, things moved pretty quickly after that. You know, you just try to take it one day at a time. And I was lucky enough to be the son of a coach, and so I grew up in it, and I understood sometimes what can happen. And so like I said, you just take it one day at a time, and you try to make the best decisions you can for the people you care about the most. And so it's a whirlwind. Coaches know kind of what this profession can sometimes what can happen and what that looks like. But it happens quick, as you can imagine. And, when you're assistant coach, you do the best job you can, and you see kind of how everything sorts out. But like I said, it's been a great transition, and that time happens so fast, and change occurs quickly that you just kind of you do the best thing, the next right thing, and work really hard and try to help the people around you, and so it was fast for sure. It wasn't much of a break after a long season. But I know we're fortunate and blessed to be here. Yeah.
We just talked to Jalen Milroe, your quarterback, for about a half hour. What an awesome kid. He's like a walking quote. Like he was giving us a bunch of great quotes. And I love just the story of like actually waiting it out a little bit and being a backup and not transferring. And what's it been like just getting to know him and coaching him now for a few months? Yeah, it's been great. I hope he feels how much we appreciate him. I think everybody recognizes, in college athletics, just when there's transition, of the things that the players go through in those transitions. And he's been rock solid since the very beginning. And he's let us coach him. I think the communication and the trust that's been built, not just with myself, but other members of the staff, Coach DeBoer certainly, has been strong. And I think the conversations, the honesty, the transparency, has been, really in a short amount of time, pretty remarkable. And I give him the most credit because, he's kind of opened his heart to us and let us coach him. And, has told us his journey, his story. And I just appreciate that about him. He wants to be great. He's already had some unbelievable moments in his career. And I know he's super excited about what's to come. And he's willing to put the work in, and he does that. He's as hard of a working player that I've been around. And so he's been a total joy to coach, and as has the other guys, on offense and the whole team really. But certainly he's kind of led the way that, just as far as his commitment, his belief, his trust. And that's not easy to do. And he's been great that way for sure. I asked Coach DeBoer a similar question to this. And I think it's a good one for you because you are the offense coordinator, right? You're in charge of the offense with the unique nature of taking over this place. It's like been so good for so long and done it one way and has its standard of how it does it. But also like, you got to implement the way you want to do things in your offense and how and the new system and the new standard, if you will. How have you kind of balanced that when you're like, you're talking to Jalen, who has won a lot of games and has seen a really high level, and now but you still want to do it your way too? Yeah, I think first and foremost, I think we're all super grateful and appreciative of what Coach Saban and his staff and the players that were here during that time have done. And the foundation that's been built. And I know that those players and those coaches would say the same thing about the history and tradition prior to them being here. This is a special place that way, and I know we all feel a responsibility to, keep the standard what it's been, and that's to win championships. And so I think we embrace that, and we're thankful and appreciative to be at a place where standards are high, at the highest level, and so I think from that part of it, we're grateful and appreciative to be here. And at the same time, I think it's our responsibility as coaches to develop belief, in what we're doing with the players. You have to show them why what you do and why you do it is important, and that it's going to help them be successful. Because ultimately, that's what we're here to do as coaches, to try to help the players reach their dreams and goals. And so that's really what we spend a ton of time doing, is to create the belief in the players, that they understand why what we do is important and how it's going to best benefit them so that they can perform at the level that they want to perform. And, the last piece I would say is to be genuine and authentic. Just be true to who you are. I think that's what all players, and I'm sure you remember that being a player, and I know I did too, was I just appreciated genuine people. And I think once the players see where your heart is and that you genuinely care about them and you want them to do well, I think, that's when you can capture them and
create the belief that you need so that they can play confidently and free and be their best. So it's been a great process. It's ongoing. You know that.
Yeah.
We've gone through winter conditioning. We've gone through spring practice. We're in the middle of summer. Training camp will be a whole nother level of adversity that you'll go through together, and then the season creates natural adversities that creates bonds and closeness that you need, to develop championship level teams. So that's what we try to be. Don't try to be somebody you're not. And I think the players respect that and they appreciate that.
Yeah. Take me inside your maybe day one unit meeting on offense. What are you telling the guys this is what we want to be? This is our standard on offense. This is our culture.
Yeah, I think, you're obviously setting those standards and the specifics of those things, the roots and the foundations of what our offense is, has always been the same. We're a pro spread offense and we try to feature our playmakers, and we try to focus on winning football and what does that look like, and they know the same things. I think sometimes when you try to, create, a message to the players that's, you just try to focus on what really helps you win.
Yeah.
And so we established that. We established the standards and expectations that we have for them in all areas. What's the expectation, how we're going to meet, how we're going to practice, how we're going to walk through. What's the expectation for them in watching film and being prepared for meetings and practice, and all those things we cover in that first unit meeting. And then we focus on what we feel and what history would tell you is what winning football looks like. And so, we really focus on offense. We talk about dominating the football. We talk about being detail-oriented, and we talk about being explosive. And obviously there's lots of layers to that, but those are really the three pillars that we focus on with the group, and certainly tie that in directly to playing good football and winning.
Yeah. I'm going to go nerd mode here a little bit.
All good.
So would love to hear how you evaluate efficiency on offense for all the coaches watching this. I was talking to a coordinator recently, talked about points per play is like their most important metric now, or is it, what do you view as a successful first, second, and third down? Just would love to hear some of those thoughts when you evaluate it. Real quick, before we get back to the podcast, I got to tell you guys about our new sponsor, Ekrin Athletics, man. Ekrin is one of my favorite products I have ever tried, one of my favorite sponsors of this podcast. Their new percussion massager is elite. The Kestrel percussion massager just launched, and it is their best massage gun yet. And I've tried a lot of these guns. There are several upgrades over their previous guns, which were already considered among the best available. This massager is extremely powerful, and it gives a deep tissue massage. Its angled handle design makes it easier to get to more areas, and the scrolling wheel makes it easy to adjust while you're using it. It has 6 speeds and 6 attachments, so you can really tailor it to your needs and to your muscle group you're targeting. I wish I had this when I was playing. I probably would have avoided some injuries, been more ready to play on game day, and recovered faster. Best part, I have a promo code for all of you to try Ekrin and their new massage gun. Use promo code NEXTUP for 25% off all orders on Ekrin Athletics. That's promo code NEXTUP for 25% off all orders. And guys, supporting our sponsors helps me a ton. So go support Ekrin Athletics. Use that promo code NEXTUP for 25% off your orders.
I think the efficiency, first off, like when you talk about goals, you're asking about what metrics do you measure to try to show that you're going to win. And because that's really what we're trying to do. I think offense and defense can sometimes be different, because offensively we're trying to manage the game so that we can win. And when you have the ball, the way that you attack and manage the game can sometimes be different than a defense that's simply just trying to stop them. Don't let them score. On offense, depending on what the situation is and what's happening, you attack the defense accordingly. But, for us, we really focus on a few things. Certainly turnover margin, historically speaking, everybody knows, the importance of that. And so we talk about the turnover, we call it the win ratio, the difference in your turnover margin and your explosive play margin. We focus on that as a team, and so easiest way to explain that is if you're in the game and, however many explosive plays the opponent has, offensively, we have to match that and exceed that in order to try to win the game. Same thing as far as turnovers. And so we focus on that. Like I said, we call that the win ratio. The other metrics that we look at, whether it's points per possession or yards per pass attempt or yards per rush, certainly we look at that to try to see areas that we can improve on. But I think touchdowns in the red zone matter. I think explosive plays matter, and I think turnover margin matters. If you take care of the ball, if you create explosive plays, you got to finish and score touchdowns in the red zone. And so we spend a ton of time on that. We have one of the metrics within those three things, we call it the 12% rule, and essentially you're eliminating bad football. You know, you take your total number of plays and divide it by sacks, TFLs, drops, penalties. And you want that number to be under 12%. And when you do that, typically speaking, you're going to play winning football because you're going to be efficient. You're going to stay ahead of the chains. You're going to stay out of 3rd and long. But I know that's a long answer to a short question. But if you really narrowed it down to the three things that we think matters the most, I think your turnover margin, your explosive play margin, and I think scoring touchdowns in the red zone. If you do those three things, you're going to score, enough points to win the game, and that's really what we're focusing on.
Awesome. That's cool. You've seen Coach DeBoer for as much as really anyone, right? You've been with him from Indiana to Washington to now. What is it about him that makes him so successful?
I think that's a great question. I think first off, me having perspective on being an assistant coach with him is that he's the same person. He hasn't changed not one bit, and I think that goes back to him being genuine and authentic to who he is. And so that's what I would say first is that, aside from, his offensive mind, which is outstanding, and his ability to lead people, he's just genuine and authentic, and he's always been the same person. I think he genuinely cares about the people that he leads, players and staff. And I think you see that and you feel that. And I felt that when I was an assistant coach with him. I certainly felt that in the last few years when he was a head coach and we weren't assistants together. I just always felt that he always had the team's best interest at heart. He had the staff's best interest at heart. And he was genuinely trying to make the experience for everybody, one of the best experiences of their life. And so you feel that when you're either playing for him or coaching for him. I think you feel that. And I also would tell you that he's a brilliant offensive coach. Details matter. He's got great perspective, great wisdom. I think he's an outstanding in-game manager. I mean, he's has experience being a head coach, and I have seen in games him make the right decision at the right time, for the right reasons. And he's very thoughtful that way. I think experience and wisdom teaches you that. And so there's so many layers, but, I think he cares about people. And he's the same person all the time. And I think people lean into that. They know what they're getting out of someone that's leading them, and people appreciate that and respect that.
I wanted to ask about your playing career and how it has.
This will be a short conversation.
Well, I mean, good. Like you went from walk-on to starter, right? I mean, it's a good journey. Like you went through adversity then, and curious how you feel like looking back on it now, it's impacted who you are. So I certainly have shared my journey, as all coaches do, with the players that they coach to try to give them perspective. Since I was young, I just wanted to play college football. My dad was a college football coach, and that's all I ever wanted to do. I didn't even think about playing pro football. That seemed like, that just wasn't real. I just wanted to play college football. And even in my journey as a high school player, I was young for my age. I was a little bit of a late bloomer. I didn't start on the varsity until my senior year. When I was a freshman in high school, there was a sophomore that was a really good player, played college football, and he was the starting quarterback. And so I had to wait my turn. And my senior season, I broke my collarbone in the 7th game of the year. We were a wing tee offense anyhow. We didn't, if we threw the ball 12 times or so, we thought we were airing it out. But so when I ended up walking on at Michigan, people ask me what was your decision to do that? Because I could have gone to smaller schools and competed. I just wanted to surround myself with the best at the time. I was a local kid, and I knew the history and tradition at a place like that, and I just wanted to be around great coaches and great players. I never limited, what I was capable of. I'd be lying to you if I thought that I was going to go there and be the starting quarterback. But I did feel like when I got there that I was there just to be as good as I could be and see where that took me. And, we obviously had a coaching transition. Some guys left the program, and I improved as a player, and I was able to play a handful of games. I think my journey in college, the benefit that I had that I think helps me with the players that I coach is I remember showing up as a freshman at walk-on, and I was 7th on the depth chart. And I remember, starting the opener as a junior, and all the different roles and responsibilities and, statuses on the team, I kind of experienced as a player. I remember being in a competition and winning it. I remember being in a competition and losing it. I've been benched.
I've come off the bench. I've been hurt. I've been on scout team. I remember as a freshman, I ran down. I was the L5 on scout kickoff. I'll tell you a funny story. Like, I remember when I first got there, we had a really good defense, and there was lots of great players there. And Lamar Woodley, he would probably laugh at this. He didn't know who I was. I was just I was 189 pounds as a freshman, and back then we had 105 players in camp, and so as you got towards the end of camp, there'd be a new set of school start walk-ons to try to make the numbers bigger so that, when you broke up and do scout teams. But until that point, it was all hands on deck. And so when there were 7 quarterbacks, if you were the 6th or 7th quarterback, like, you had to fill in. And we had a walk-on running back who was really going to be the scout team fullback, who's a good friend of mine. And he broke his foot in a non-contact drill. And so we didn't have a fullback for the scout team. And back then, we were talking before we got going about, powers and ISOs and stuff. So I remember being 189 pounds playing scout team fullback, trying to kick out Lamar Woodley playing a 9 technique. And I called my dad, and he said, "How's it going?" And my dad had prepped me because he'd been a college coach for a long time. He was coaching in the NFL at that time, but he had almost scared me to a point. It's like, hey, this is what it's going to be like for you. And so I had a sense, that they might ask me to do anything. And I remember telling them that I'm having a blast. I love being here, but I might have to get a cowboy collar and a bigger face mask because if I was going to run into Lamar Woodley, he was 260 pounds. He was a veteran player. He ended up getting drafted pretty high. And so, but I've had all those different roles on a team. And so, when I'm communicating with the players, there's really nothing that they've gone through that I didn't experience as a player. I had some okay moments where people told you good job and nice things were written about you in the paper, and I've been booed, and everything in between. And so I think at the time when I was a young person, maybe it was difficult to go through because you want to do well, you want to play well. But I look back on it now as a coach, and I'm thankful that my journey has helped me connect to the players that I get to coach.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, you probably needed a mouthpiece too.
Oh, no doubt. I had the helmets are different now.
Yeah, I was going to say,
not that we're that old.
Leather helmet back?
No. But I had the 1 bar. There's like 1 bar here and 2 bars here, and like I said, I told my dad, I don't have to get a bigger face mask and a cowboy collar if I'm going to be running into 260 pounders.
And the worst part, as a tight end too, when I was playing, anyone in a 9 tech scared me.
Like, and it was different back then. You know that. I mean, people like a 9 technique was not like a loose edge player. It was like a guy that was trying to stab your throat there. So
it's such an important part of your job in college football is obviously coaching, play calling, recruiting, but evaluating players, especially the quarterback position now. I think it's one of the most unique, hardest positions to evaluate. When you turn on a guy's film and you're trying to evaluate a quarterback, what are the couple things you're looking for right away on tape?
I think there's 3 main things, and I'll give you kind of a bigger picture. We look for decision-making, timing, and accuracy. I don't think there's any doubt about that when you see people play at the highest level, that they're able to do that. But I kind of big picture, when you think about great quarterbacks, and I think this would be true with point guards, I think this would be true with people that have to make decisions, is great quarterbacks make the right decision at the right time. And I think if you really dive in and study film, you can find that. If you're thorough enough and you spend time doing that and you're not just watching highlights, and so I think the best in the world, they just seem to make the right decision at the right time, and whatever that may look like. It might be throwing the ball away because the journey's over, or it might be checking the ball down, or it might be extending the play. And I think history would tell you that. It's like those guys just always seem to do the right thing, and there's coaching involved in that. There's certainly things that we try to communicate to those players, but I think whether you want to call it instincts or whatever you want to describe it as, I just think that the best quarterbacks in the world, they make the right decision at the right time. And I think that shows up in high school. I think when you watch and evaluate players in big moments in high school, the great players that turn out to be great college players and great pro players, they were doing it when they were juniors or seniors in high school. And so you just got to be disciplined, and you certainly believe in your ability to coach and develop players, and to help them improve. But I certainly think that there is some decision making that whether it's natural or they've just been coached that way since they were young, but they just always seem to make the right decision at the right time.
Yeah, I mentioned Jalen already, but this offseason, what are the things that you're working on with Jalen that you're trying to either improve upon or just develop with him as he's, obviously was still a first-year starter last year?
Yeah, it's been a combination of us installing our scheme, our system, and what is required to execute those plays at a high level. So there's been a balance between that and also trying to help him evaluate and grow from the things that he did last year, both good and bad. I think, as I've mentioned before, SEC champion, college football playoffs. I mean, there was a lot of great moments. You can't win a championship if the quarterback doesn't play well.
Yeah.
And so, I give him a ton of credit, for executing at a high level in critical moments throughout the stretch of the season. I think everybody recognizes that you have to have a team to win a championship, but the quarterback has to play well, and I think he did that, and yet what's exciting for him and for us is we think that he still has, great football ahead of him. And so there's been a balance there between evaluating, what he did last year. I know people that were coaching him, and they're excellent coaches, and I thought he did a great job. He put his team in position to play for a national championship and win a conference championship, and that is not easy to do. And so I give him a ton of credit for that and for his performance in big moments. And yet, like I said, we're trying to help him grow, improve, and try to just be as good as he could be. And so there's been a balance there, like I said, between communicating to him and teaching him our system, our offense, and also trying to, meet him where he's at and hear from him, what his thought process was in different moments that he went through last year. And so that's been a lot of fun, and his communication's been great that way, and we've enjoyed it a bunch.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Coach, appreciate you taking the time. Congrats on all this success, and excited to see you guys play this season.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah.